This is the new Yonex Ezone 8th generation. Although it has been one of the most popular racket on the market for quite some time, I never really thought about looking back to the history of this racket. And so I did what everybody would do when it's the time to ask some question. But this time I didn't find any answer. And so today I'm gonna tell you the untold story of the Yonex Ezone. So in order to talk about the history of this racket, we gotta go back in time in the late 1990s and the beginning of the 21st century. Yonex was, you know, a pretty successful brand in badminton and okay successful brand in tennis. They had some pretty good stars like Martina Navratilova, Leighton Hewitt, and many more. But Yonex was mainly the weird brand from Japan, you know, the brand that everybody knows that is good, but nobody really want to buy it, or at least there's some people, but not the vast majority. And there's also a fair point to these people not buying Yonex rackets because Yonex tends to have some pretty weird name. So it's pretty tough to recognize the brand of Yonex. Yes, you know that it's a Yonex, but is it a RQRSW2ES? You don't know. And yes, Yonex is made in Japan, but at that time, you know, Head was made in Austria, Wilson was made in the US, Babola in France. So yes, you know, racket made in Japan, it's cool, but like there's other brand made in other country that is also cool. But at the beginning of the 21st century, we had a country name, I don't know if you know, China. And now a lot of brands were just relocating their production to, let's say, for Head Austria, to China. Actually, every brand did it, except one, and it's Yonex. And so, by not moving and still staying in Japan, they separated themselves from the other brand, and so now Yonex start to build a name for themselves. But the game is evolving. There's a guy named Rafael Nadal, I don't know if you know him, coming to the ATP that is changing pretty much everything. The courts are getting slower, so we need to have some weapon to hit some faster ball with some better comfort because we're tired of using 95 square inch head size racket. And actually I say 95 square inch head size racket, but at that time it could have been 85 square inch head size, 93 square inch head size, so yeah, pretty small racket. So that's where the history of the Yonex Ezone begins. I'm sorry, I wasn't really able to find what was the actual predecessor of the Yonex Ezone, but for me, the predecessor of the Yonex Ezone is the RQIS4. It's a 95 square inch head size with a 16 by 18 string pattern, but it was kind of heavy, so 315 grams, and you had some model that were like 20 millimeters, 22 millimeters, 24 millimeters, so pretty close to what could be an Ezone. But Yonex really wanted to do their Babola Aero Pure Drive, or even like Head did with the Head Speed, that was a huge success coming with the new star Novak Djokovic. So in 2010, Yonex is ready. They're gonna release the Ezone XI. Basically, the Yonex Ezone XI is a powerful racket combining with comfort. Their goal is to appeal to a bigger audience by bringing an easy racket, and obviously the name Ezone is coming from the easy one. So by bringing an easy racket, a lot of people will enjoy this racket and play without, you know, getting tired. I would compare this release to be a bit like when Wilson released the Wilson Clash. The goal is to appeal to maybe not the pros, but more the people that are playing recreational tennis. But with that, it brings a lot of misconception, unfortunately. The Yonex Ezone XI was so easy that it has a lot of time been referred as a girl's racket. And obviously it will hurt the Ezone branding for a lot of time because a lot of men didn't want to move to that easy racket. And so Yonex had to come with something different. And so in 2012, they will release the Yonex Ezone AI. What is new with that Yonex Ezone AI? Pretty simple, better stability and they're bringing the isometric expansion. At that time, it was a revolution. So by bringing the isometric shape, the classic isometric shape, to another level, Yonex were able to enhance the sweet spot. So it would be a bigger sweet spot. And you will see throughout the video, it's not the last time that I will try to achieve that. It's also the first time that Yonex will release an Ezone with the green color, so it will be important for the rest of the video. And in 2014, Yonex released the GOAT. And you will see, if you're sticking until the end of the video, that for them, it will be tough to follow that success of the Yonex Ezone DR. The DR is pretty impressive because it's incredible. Not only the 98 is a good racket, but the 100 is cool, the Tour is cool too, so yeah, overall a big success. And why this racket is a big success? It's pretty basic, but it was appealing to men that were playing recreational tennis, was appealing to female tennis player, but also to really high level competitive player. Because this racket, you know, is incredible. I had the opportunity to hit with the 100 and the 98 quite some times, and the feel is just insane. And many of people are referring to this racket as the GOAT, and I couldn't agree more than that. Basically, they brought a bit more flex, a bit more power to that Yonex. So bring a bit more to this racket, a bit more power, a bit more flex, like I said, but with that Yonex feel. So the isometric shape and all that stuff was building with that power and that flex. So that's why this racket feels really unique. But in 2017, that's where it all folded. Now Yonex decided that the Yonex Ezone would be only the Yonex Ezone, so no DR, AI, XZ, whatever. It would be much simpler to call it just the Ezone. So, you know, Yonex was pretty happy with the DR. It was a pretty successful racket, but, you know, they felt like they could have had a bit more comfort. So that's what they did in the 2017 version. And unfortunately, from now, it's going downhill. Everybody that was in love with the DR tried the new model and didn't love it. Combined to that, you know, the cosmetic of the racket was okay, was clean, but people didn't really enjoy it just as much as the DR. It has too much neon green. And so Yonex was really in panic mode. They had to find a solution to bring back the success of the Ezone. So they didn't wait 2 years to release another racket. The next year, they released another Ezone that would be with the same color, but just blue instead of lime green. And it seems stupid, but you know, with the 2017 version, they wanted to add more comfort. They brought back the rigidity of the DR. But it's not the same success. You can see that the Ezone is definitely not as successful as it was. So in 2020, Yonex has to make a decision. Are they gonna stick to that Ezone, or are they gonna create a whole other brand for their easy racket? They decided to stick with the Ezone, and in 2020 they released a racket that is bringing back to that old roots of the DR. And you can see that it's, you know, appealing to the vast majority of people that brought the DR in 2014, and also combining that to that success, you can see that a lot more pros are using that racket. And actually that kind of success, it's not due to that 2020 model, actually it's due to the success of the DR, because a lot of juniors use the DR to play competitive tennis. When they went to the pros, they stick to that DR, but with the new color. So we would see a lot more pros using the Yonex Ezone. And the thing that is pretty remarkable is that there's not only like female tennis player or men tennis player, they're both playing with the Ezone, so that seems like a big success. And in 2022, the Ezone would be back. Back because there's so much more feel, back because it's now more modern, more powerful, and the look also. So yeah, you can deny the look was insane, and Yonex knew that it was a big thing with that racket. And actually I think that they didn't want to change that racket for a long time, so that's why you saw the Naomi Osaka version, you saw the Aqua Knight version too. But in 2025, Yonex came back with the new Yonex Ezone 8th generation. And what is new with that version? Basically they're coming back, and that's what I've said at the beginning of the video, you're gonna see a trend. More rigidity, more comfort, more rigidity, more comfort, and this one is definitely the easiest Ezone that you can play with. You can actually play with this racket with no dampener, because actually with the 2022 version it was a big success, but a lot of people complained that the racket was too stiff. This one is not stiff at all, it's actually really easy. And so you can see that Yonex now focus more on playing with an easy racket. The playability from recreational player is really important in Yonex's head, and so you can see that Yonex has finally found the way that, you know, a racket could be easy but fun to play with. And so that's it for the Yonex Ezone story. Hope you have liked it. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.